If you can't tell, I have a lot of books to get through for this haul, so we should get them. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I genuinely cannot believe it is already past halfway through March. 2026 has absolutely flown by. I haven't read as much as I thought I would. Like, I'm on track with my reading goal. I've just been so busy with work and other things that I haven't read as much as I'd like. However, I have quite the book haul for you for the first quarter of the year. Although I have not been reading, I have acquired quite a few books. It's a little bit of a mix of everything from gifted from the publishers, some thrifted pieces, and then I also have quite a significant haul from England where I just was back in February visiting one of my really good friends. So we have books of all different genres, publishing dates, everything. I'm really excited to share these. If you're curious on the books I have been reading or will be reading over the next few months, stay tuned. I also think I'm going to be doing like a quarterly recap reading video, so I'll probably film that at the end of March. So the first book I picked up in the year, I used a gift card for it. This has been on my TBR for a very long time. It has been published for a very long time. When I was in England back in February, I was visiting the location that this is set in and I knew I had to pick it up, and that is Persuasion by Jane Austen. So I read this in February while I was in Bath and it was such an enjoyable and such a fun read. I love how Jane Austen writes her romances, but also the way she writes sisterhood and sibling dynamics is so funny and so fascinating to me. This was my second Jane Austen. I read Pride and Prejudice last year. I studied the films in my English honors classes in high school, like Sense and Sensibility, but I don't think we ever actually read the book, so I will have to get around to that. But I picked up this one and I've read it so far this year. I will include this in my quarterly recap. And then I will do two other Penguin classics. These I both thrifted. Two books I've really wanted to read for a long time. I thoroughly enjoy the movies and TV series these are based off of. The first one I have is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I again studied the North and South BBC limited series from like the early 2003-2004. Studied that back in high school. Absolutely fell in love with it. This is a book I've wanted to read for so long, and they've republished the Penguin classics with a different cover, but I just love this sort of landscape painting and it was very difficult to find. This one is like quite used. I found it randomly off of Poshmark. It's kind of hard to find thrifted books in Canada. We don't have all the other websites that they do in like the UK and the States, but I really do want to get to this. I absolutely love that series. Intrigued to see how it translated from page to screen. And then the other book I have is quite a thick boy. I thrifted this online and then shipped it to my friend's house in London. This I think is longer than The Count of Monte Cristo. Again, is one of my favorite plays of all time. If you can't guess it already, it is Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. Again, I love this cover, so I was specifically searching for it. This book comes at over 1,200 pages. It might be shorter than The Count actually, but I am so interested to actually read this. I don't know if I will get to it in spring or summer. This might be on my shelf until the fall time. Victor Hugo, I am coming for you. I also just love Penguin classics and I like how all their spines match, even if some of the writing is different on the sides. But I love a sort of painted front cover and I love the artwork that is often showcased on these books. So that is the Penguin Classics thrifted and non-thrifted haul. I have 7 gifted copies from the publishers, which I might save for the end. Let's go through them now actually. So first off, I need to give a shout out to Simon & Schuster Canada / Summit Books. The bulk of these books are from them and they are so beautiful, and I have been so excited for these books. They've been on my like 26 for 2026 and books I was really interested in that are publishing this year. So let's start with 2 sapphic reads. This first one has been on my 26 for 2026. I have not read it yet. I'm saving it for more like April, May, most likely May, and that is Nymph by Sophia Montrone. This is her debut novel. The snippet on the back just says, "Call Me By Your Name meets Elena Ferrante in this mesmerizing debut set over the course of several summers on an agriturismo in the northern Italian countryside." This just screams more of like a summer read. This is publishing on June 9th, so I definitely want to get to it before it publishes. I love everything about this. The cover, the premise. I have such high hopes for this. I am so excited for it. Definitely, I have really good feelings about that. The next book I have from Summit is also sort of a sapphic love story. I have read this one. I will talk about it in my quarterly reading recap, and that is Almost Life by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. So this one says, one day meets normal people in a decade-spanning love story. So this begins in 1978 in Paris, and it spans decades and goes from Norfolk, I don't know if I said that right, to Paris and everywhere in between. This is so beautiful. This I think will be one of my favorite reads of 2026. I read this back in February before I went to England. Just the most amazing things to say about it. If you want to see a more in-depth review, check out my Goodreads, but I will save this for my quarterly reading recap. And Almost Life is coming out March 24th. I'm not sure if I will have this video published by then, but March 24th, check it out. Then I have two more from Summit Books / Simon & Schuster. The first one is Lazar. This is a translated fiction, also a debut, set in Hungary. It's sort of a multi-generational gothic epic saga. It starts from pre-World War I and I think leads up to the Hungarian Revolution, if I recall correctly. I have read this, I just forget like the final end date. This was quite an interesting read. I really love a gothic tale, and I learned a lot about the Hungarian history that I never learned about in school. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it was like my favorite read this year. Also, this is supposed to be a haul, not a review, but this was a really cool premise and I learned a lot from it. I would recommend. This is another debut author and translated fiction, the first of many to come. And this book comes out April 7th, so in a few weeks time. I'm very excited for the world to get to read this. The final book I have from Summit / Simon & Schuster Canada, sorry, this is by a Swiss author, but ties in a lot of his Hungarian family history, whereas this upcoming book is set in the US by a Hungarian author. It's about mothers and daughters, loneliness and belonging, and the things we carry with us and the people we leave behind. So it looks like it's a flashback between 2001 LA and 1990 fall of the Berlin Wall. I'm very excited to read this. I was so happy when I received all these books in the mail from Summit. Sometimes publishers will make you like pick and choose like 1 or 2 books for each season, and there were so many I was excited about, and they very kindly gifted these all to me. I do not take it for granted. I feel so lucky to be in this position and to be able to read so many authors. This is also a debut, so I just think it's such a wonderful time to be able to read debut authors and their fiction and be able to share it with the community. So I'm very excited, and yeah, this comes out on April 14th. This next book I have is from Doubleday Canada / Penguin Random House Canada. This is a translated fiction from Korea, which is very cool, and it is A Simple Heart. I actually just finished reading this, and this was such a beautiful book. It is about a woman who lives in France who returns back to Korea with a small documentary team to sort of go through the journey of her adoption and where she came from. She sort of unravels not just her past, but some of the other people she meets. And this is such an interesting book. I never really knew too much about the Korean occupation with American military and sort of the international adoption that is threaded in their history. This was such a great read, and this I believe has already come out. This is a finished copy. I think it came out back in February, but such a beautiful translated fiction from Korea. Definitely check it out. Thank you, Doubleday. And now I have 2 more books from St. Martin's Press. The first one is a romance, actually, which they asked if I would like it, and I said yes because I was very intrigued. It comes with a little pamphlet, and I love the backstory of this. This is like a meet cute on a flight, which I fly quite a bit, and so I would love this to happen to me. But it's a meet cute between a girl who's a writer and a man who is an actor. I read this book right at the beginning of the year. It was such a cute way to start the year, and it's called The Odds of You. First of all, look at this gorgeous cover and like the sprayed edges. This is set in the Isle of Skye, which is one of my favorite places ever. I love when a book transports you to a specific place that you know, and this one is so good at detailing the landscape and sort of the environment they're in, and I really love it. I also just love that this was a meet cute. This was a really fun read. Oh, it came with like a little, what are these called? Inserts. As someone that does not really read romance, I had a great time. My biggest qualm with romance, I think I just prefer more of like a woman's fiction with romance in it rather than just like a straight rom-com, but this was really cute and enjoyable and a great way to start the year, so I kind of recommend it. And then the last gifted book I have, this also came from St. Martin's Press. I believe it is out now. I haven't read it yet, it just came in the mail, and that is A Good Animal. I don't really know too much about this other than it says it's a coming of age debut novel. Yet again, I love a debut. It is set in Michigan and it's about first love, rural life, and how our one decision can echo through generations and shape who we become. So this sounds almost like a romance or more just like a coming of age historical fiction. Tense, lyrical, and deeply felt. This sounds very beautiful. I also really just love this cover. It is stunning. So thank you, St. Martin's Press, for that one. Those are all the books I received before I went to England. And then we have the England haul. Listen, books in Canada are very expensive. Also, the UK just has some publishers that we don't have in Canada that I really enjoyed, particularly Fitzcarraldo Editions and Charco Press, among others that you will see in this haul. And generally, I find the books are also cheaper there too. So anytime I go to the UK, I just have a really good excuse to stock up on books. And there's a theme to some of these. Some of these were very unplanned and some of them were planned. First off, like what I said about reading Persuasion is I went to Bath. My friend and I had a nice little staycation out of the city from London, and the first store I went to was Topping & Co. I love Topping & Co. I've been to the Edinburgh location quite a few times now. They have such an amazing selection of first and like special editions, and just those stores are absolutely massive. I knew I couldn't go too hard in Bath because I was going to do some damage in London, so at Topping & Co. I only bought one book, and you'll see because I also bought 3 other books while in Bath. And I bought Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico. This is an Italian author. This is set in Berlin and it's about a millennial expat couple and their sort of disillusionment as these young digital creatives and living the ideal life. I read this a couple weeks ago. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know this book has mixed reviews. I keep forgetting that this is not a review video, this is a haul. Anyways, this is translated fiction from an Italian author about a millennial expat couple living in Berlin, and I ate this up. It is a very quick read. I think it's slightly over 100 pages, 115 pages. I recommend. I love a Fitzcarraldo, and this is not the last one you will see in this haul. The unplanned segment of my Bath specific haul is Persephone Books. I knew I wanted to go to Persephone Books. I've never been before, and what a beautiful bookshop it is. They focus on publishing underrepresented 20th century female authors. They do just the most stunning job. I can't wait to show you the 3 I picked up. I went the first day we got into Bath, looked at all their selection, and then had to think about which ones I wanted before I went back, and I ended up with 3. 2 of them have their signature sort of gray covers, and the really fun thing about their books is they come with matching bookmarks that match the end pages, which is just such a beautiful touch. So the first one I got is by Dorothy Whipple, and it is Because of the Lockwoods. This is set, I believe, in a northern community that centers around 2 poor and rich families, I think. I don't know too much about it, but I've heard very good things about Dorothy Whipple, and this just sounded very entertaining and kind of up my alley. This is by far the biggest one I have. It's just over 450 pages. First published in 1949 and then republished in 2021. And I'm going to be doing a buddy read actually with some of my friends from Bookstagram in a couple months with this one, so I'm very excited for that. Ooh, this one's fun. The next one I bought is by a Canadian author from Toronto, and this book is set in World War II Montreal. It is called Earth in High Heaven. Just an absolute, again, I love the gray books. And that's the end papers, and this is about, I believe she's a Catholic woman who falls in love with a Jewish man during World War II, and it's set in Montreal, and this just sounds very interesting as they deal with the prejudices at the time. And I really wanted to read a Canadian author, so I was happy to find one in their selection. The last book I have from Persephone Books is not one of the gray editions. I think they had the gray option, but I just really love the cover of this one, and this is called Little Boy Lost. This is again a World War II sort of related book. I believe it's about a man who returns to France after the war to try and trace a child he lost 5 years prior to that, and the novel asks, is the child really his and does he want him? This sounded also just like a really interesting premise, and I love the cover of this one. It's so beautiful. So those are my Bath, Persephone, and Topping & Co. books. And then the final, of course, course, I could not go to London without visiting Daunt Books. Daunt Books in Marylebone, probably my favorite bookshop of all time. I am a sucker for translated fiction. You guys know, if you've seen any of my reading recaps, I love reading books all over the world, and they do such a good job with this. I love how they also separate all their shelves by like country and region in the world, so it's really easy to find the books you want, and all the nonfiction and fiction are mixed, but they're split up sort of by country. So there's a theme to some of these. I will do the 2 that were unplanned, and then I will do the last 4 which were very planned and intentional, and see if you can spot the theme. I really enjoy reading books that pertain to a place I'm about to visit, and I love reading about places when I'm visiting there, and so I wanted to stock up on some of those books for an upcoming trip, perhaps. But the first 2, these were completely unprompted. I picked them off the shelves and I thought they were really cool. This one is called Natalia's Stories. This is a very itty-bitty novella. I think it's from Denmark. Yes. And it's about a young woman who is spirited away to St. Petersburg from Copenhagen by a love-struck admirer. When she dies after the Russian Revolution, her ashes are carried back to Denmark, igniting a chain reaction of further stories told and retold by the woman and her family about the shifting ground of the meeting. Tantalizing and full of wit, this remarkable shape-shifting novel is available in English for the first time. I read the premise, I was immediately intrigued. Also, this new collection of Penguin International writers. So I think there's new like sort of pink books are all translated fiction. Hooked me right in. The other one is set in a place I actually just traveled to a couple months ago, one of my favorite places in the world, and that is the Italian Alps. And this book is called The Lovers. Picked it up because of the cover, bought it because of the premise. High in the Italian Alps, this tiny village of Fontana Fretta is wholly in tune with the seasons. Its rhythms appeal deeply to Fausto, who is seeking a break from the pressures of Milan. He takes a job cooking at Babette's Trattoria, a refuge to many lost souls before him, and settles into village life. One evening, after their customers have left, Fausto begins talking to Sylvia. Like him, she is searching for something, but her sights are set on the glaciers above them. At once, their story begins, a tender journey of love and dreams, and of lives humbled, renewed, and transcended by the epic strength and beauty of the mountains. Reading, translated fiction, hiking, mountains. It's like the perfect book for me. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna get to this soon. I feel like this is one of those books I was like waiting for the appropriate moment to read, but every moment is the appropriate moment to read it. Now we're down to the final 4. This is a very specific theme that I wanted to buy these books. Let's begin with the 2 from Charco Press. Charco Press specializes in publishing Latin American and South American fiction into English. I absolutely love all that they stand for. I've read quite a few of their books before. These books are quite expensive in Canada, so either I've picked them up from the library before from Charco Press, or if I'm gonna buy them, I generally wait till I'm in the UK. The first one is from an author I've previously read, and it is A Little Luck by Claudia Pinheiro. I have read Elena Knows previously, and I've heard really good things about this one. So this is set 20 years after a shocking accident. Mary Lohan returns to the Buenos Aires suburb she fled in a fugue of guilt and isolation. She is not the same, not her name or voice, not even the color of her eyes. The neighborhood looks different too, but she's still the same woman, and it's still the same place, and as the past erupts into view, they slowly collide. A Little Luck is a story about the debilitating weight of lies, the messy line between bravery and cowardice, and the tragedies, big and small, that can ripple out of a single divisive event. In a place she had determined to forget forever, both anticipated encounters and unanticipated revelations show her and us that sometimes life is neither fate nor chance. Perhaps it is nothing more than a little luck. So excited for this one to be read soon. The other one I have from Charco Press, the one I originally wanted, they did not have in store. So instead I found this one, which I found very interesting, and this is called Confession by Martin Cohan. So this book is split into 1941 provincial Argentina and then 1977, and it's about a girl who sees a boy in 1941, and then by 1977 that young man is a general leading the ruling military of the country, and a cell of young revolutionaries plot the audacious attack on him and the regime. So this is about the contours of Argentina's 20th century. It sounds very fascinating, and I am intrigued to learn more about Argentina's history. I don't know too much about it. I've only ever read 2 books from Argentina. So I read Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro, and then I've also read Dislocations by Sylvia Molloy, which was from Charco Press, and I picked it up from the library. Neither of them went too much into detail about Argentina's 20th century history, so I'm very fascinated to learn more about it. Now we're moving across the border to a country I have read a little little bit about its 20th century history, and that is Chile. This book I picked up is from one of my favorite authors. Her name is Nona Fernandez, and this is her memoir actually called Voyager. It is also published by Dawn Books, which is really fun, so I could not get this in Canada even if I wanted to. I'm really excited to read this. Along with those other two books, they will be read in due course. The final book I picked up, there was a book I wanted that they did not have in stock, and so instead I found this one, and this is a final book from Chile, and it's a Fitzcarraldo edition, and this is called Bonsai by Alejandro Zambra. This is about two young Chilean students seeking truth in great literature find each other instead. Like all young couples, they lie to each other, revise themselves, and try new identities on for size, observing and analyzing their love story as if it's one of the great novels they both pretend to have read. As they shadow each other throughout their young adulthoods, falling together and drifting apart, Zambra spins a formally innovative, meta-fictional tale that brilliantly explores the relationship among love, art, and memory. Fitzcarraldo never does me dirty, so I had to pick it up. If you made it this far in the haul, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry it was like a bit of a mix of a review slash haul and everything in between. This is going to be such a great year for publishing and new authors and translated fiction. I'm loving seeing all the different stories that are being told. So thank you to the publishers that have sent me work. Thank you to the people who have bought me gift cards, i.e. my family over Christmas. And then England, thank you for publishing such a diverse array of fiction I can't get in Canada. Without further ado, I hope to see you guys in my next video. It'll probably be a quarterly reading recap, and I'll try and film that soon. So thanks guys.